cats. We are back. This is Become a Bat, your chronological look at Batman through the ages. I'm your host, Tom,
And Mike.
and today we got Batman number 8, story number 2, and Detective Comics 62. And it was a pretty solid week, I would say, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think so.
Yep. It's kind of hard to go back into Batman mode. We were just talking about the Super Mario movie trailer.
Which looks fantastic.
It looks really good. Yeah. Like Jack Black, like everybody's perfect casting except for Chris Pratt,
Yeah.
which he's okay. Like I don't know, nothing controversial here to say about that. I think everyone's pretty much
Yeah, he didn't talk a whole lot in the trailer.
no. Though one thing that kind of annoyed me is like I don't know if you caught it, but like the line at the end was like, "Let's go now" or something like that. And it's
Instead
like,
of here we go.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you could have just said the line.
Maybe they're like waiting. They're gonna give him some character development, and then the end of the movie, the last scene, he's gonna be like, "Here we go,"
Oh,
and
God,
like into a new adventure. Like they're gonna build up that goofy personality.
I
He'll
don't know.
start off all jaded or something.
Right before the they did that direct, they did like Nintendo had like a little like kind of preamble to it,
Mm-hmm.
and they had like a little like almost felt like a Chris Pratt was recording a cameo,
Yeah.
and he was like talking about like growing up playing Mario, but like the way he talked just kind of gave this impression that he's never played a Mario game in his life.
I'll tell you right now. Every time I hear him talk, I feel like he's lying his ass off about whatever he's saying. So
Yeah.
I don't really like him that much, except for in Parks and Rec, because I feel like he's perfectly cast in that role, because that's probably closer to who he is.
Well, he was up and coming, like he's really good like as Star-Lord, and then I think the kind of great for him financially,
Mm-hmm.
but like as an actor, like he's not really leading man material. He's
No.
better as a character actor.
Yeah, he works well as Star-Lord, because Star-Lord's basically his character from Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
only buff. So
Yeah, so like but now he's like on these generic like action movies on Amazon, and
yeah, I could give less of a crap about that.
and
Sorry.
it just kind of like whatever. But whatever. This is a Batman podcast, so
Yep.
let's get back to Batman.
Batman.
You know what? All right. So we are going to start with Batman number 8, story number 2, The Strange Case of Professor Radium. The art is by Bob Kane, Jerry Robinson, George Russos, and the story is written by Bill Finger.
Oh, Bill.
All right. So you want to describe the splash?
Yeah,
The splash
I do,
page.
definitely. This splash page is very reminiscent of another splash page from a previous Detective Comics issue with Professor Dr. Hugo Strange, where he's in the foreground and he's like holding a test tube and there's
Yeah.
like stuff coming out of it, and he's just doing some kind of scientific experiment, and then he's like whipping his head around to look behind him as Batman bursts into the door.
Yeah.
The difference is in that one, he's bursting into the window.
Batman is like this is like super dramatic,
It is.
and you can like
There's a lot of cool things going on here, though.
yeah, you know though you can like replace like if you were to replace Batman, you could replace him with like a very handsome long haired man, like a Fabio character, and then like Professor Radium could be like a buxom woman,
Oh,
and
then
this
it would-
could be like
yeah.
the cover of like a romance novel.
It would be the perfect cover, yeah. This cover is still good though. Like,
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
it harkens back to that slightly older. I can't say like the golden age of Batman, because it still is the golden age. But,
yeah.
it's cool because not only does it feel reminiscent of the older mad scientist Batman stories, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
In the background, outside the door on the roof behind him, you see Robin, which is cool. It's like a tiny little detail. I didn't even notice it like
Yeah,
the first three
yeah.
times I looked at it.
Yeah, Robin wasn't there for. He was only there for like the last Strange stories.
He's
so.
not there for any of those like old dark
Mhm.
mad scientists.
It's crazy how
style
like 1 year makes a huge difference.
ones.
Like, especially in this era, man.
And then, you know, another thing I love about this cover is that, like, the logo, like, they did this in the last issue that we talked about. The
Mhm.
logo with the bat wings in his head, the
Mhm.
wings are, like, going down and becoming part of the image.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? So you don't just have, like, the logo itself that says Batman and Robin. If the
Mhm.
logo is the shadow that
Yeah.
creates the interior of the room that he's busting into.
Yeah, because like the door is like within the shadow, so he's like
Yeah.
opening within it. That's really nice detail.
Yeah, it's a cool little thing.
And you can still see like the outside from behind it, which is like where Robin is. It's cool. It's good.
Yeah. It kind of takes it from being just like a straightforward splash page showing something happening to being a
Mhm.
little more artistic.
It is. Do you want to read this one?
I do.
All
I
right.
pre-read it, so I should not screw up at all.
Good luck.
This one's a lot easier than the next one, by the way. I read that one too, and I definitely screwed up once or twice.
I usually try to go fresh, but to my shame.
I don't read them out loud until I do this. I just read them in my head. Batman and Robin, sworn enemies of crime, match wits with the sinister and clever master of the weapons of science, who is the incredible eerie figure glowing with unholy fluorescent light. Let us call him by that dread name which is to become so terribly familiar to all. Professor Radium. Can the dynamic duo cope with the strange weapons of the world of science? Can they defeat a man who must kill so that he may live? Here is the answer in the most amazing of all adventures called The Strange Case of Professor Radium.
Very good. Yeah. Okay. So, to start, let's get on to the synopsis. Oh, yeah, that's what I was gonna say actually, real quick. Like the splash page in the story is he's called like Dr. Radium, but I don't think he's called that like within the story itself. None of the characters call him that. Like,
No, I think it's just a nickname that the writers came up for him, which
Yeah.
I guess is poor writing. But at some point in the story, he does say, like, I'm turning back into Radium.
yeah,
Like he's given himself the
Like,
nickname of Radium.
they'll probably like refer to him that by that name if like when he returns, if he returns.
If he returns. I think they were thinking that he would return.
Yeah.
hence what I just read, talking about how people are never going to forget who he is.
Yeah,
But
this,
he may never come back.
this is my first time reading the story, so it was kind of a surprise to me.
Yeah.
And I never heard of this character before, so not to get too far along, but if he returns, it'll be a shock.
Yep.
All right, so let's get into the synopsis. The story begins with a scientist named Professor Ross using science to find the key to immortality. He has a batch of euthanized dogs sent to his laboratory. He injects the dogs with radium, and nothing seemingly happens. He falls asleep in his chair, disappointed with the results. And the story, real quick, the story's kind of like unclear about who this other guy is. I kind of got the impression he's more of like a lab assistant, but I think one of the characters also calls him a coroner. But there's another coroner, so
I think he's the lab assistant. Well, he definitely has a lab
Yeah.
assistant for sure.
yeah, I'm going with lab assistant / like friend because they kind of seem to have that kind of.
Can I just say real quick? I
Yeah.
really like that panel. I didn't put it in my favorite panels, which is why I'm mentioning it now. Where he's like, I will take these dogs as they are now, dead.
Yeah,
Like, okay.
Well-
I figured it's not like I can bring him back to life and give him to you.
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess he needs them fresh. Like they weren't just like a bunch of dog corpses. Like they euthanized them and he got them fresh.
I know, but he's really creepy.
It is a creepy plan, but I mean, it's got a noble goal.
Yeah.
So, where was I? So he falls asleep in his chair and he's disappointed with the results. He's woken up by his lab assistant who is asking him why his lab is suddenly a dog kennel. His experiments worked. He reports the results to his overseers and they can't find any trace of radium in the dog systems. They think he's a fraud and they ask him to turn in his resignation. So Professor Ross decides to take drastic action. He poisons himself and leaves instructions on the table on how to bring him back to life. His lab assistant comes by and he's shocked to see him dead and he follows the instructions. He injects Ross with the radium and he comes back to life. The assistant examines the blood and finds no trace of radium. Sometime later, Ross was out and about and he sees a flower and he goes to smell it and he touches it and the flower withers and dies. A sparrow lands on his hand and it falls over dead. Ross's lab assistant comes running in to tell Ross that he was wrong and the radium is definitely still in his blood. So they go back to the lab and he gets x-rayed and they see the radiation. Ross's assistant touches Ross and then he falls over dead.
You know what the whole touching thing reminds me of? Man Thing.
I don't know enough.
Marvel's Man Thing.
I don't know enough to what's up with that.
His whole thing, he was like created sort of like Swamp Thing, right?
That's the extent I know is like their version of Swamp Thing. But
Yeah. But his whole thing is that he's like a horror character. So if you have fear in your heart or you're like a criminal and he touches you, you burn. Yeah.
Kind of like a scarecrow, but he can like for real. Like he doesn't
Yeah,
use
like it
gas,
literally
it
melts
actually
your
makes a thing.
flesh.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So Ross calls the police and he tells them that his assistant just dropped over and died randomly. They see no evidence of murder and they don't have a reason to suspect the professor, so they take the body away and leave. Professor Ross feels guilty. He didn't murder his assistant, but he didn't quite tell the police the truth. So Ross spends days coming up with an antidote so that he won't cause any more deaths. He makes one called Volatel. Another thing the story's kind of unclear about. It kind of seems like he's working on it, but I think he just finds something that
Yeah,
does the trick.
I think so too. Volatile, I think, is supposed to be like a fake drug that you can just get.
Yeah.
Sort of like the drug from the Nightmare on Elm Street series that doesn't exist but does something oddly specific.
What was the drug?
Hypnosil.
Hypnosil.
Yeah, it's like the drug that they take in every single one of the movies to keep themselves awake all night so that Freddy can't get to them.
Weird. I watched through all those movies last year. I don't remember Hypnosil.
Hypnosil.
Okay. Well, I mostly just remember in the remake when he like injects himself with the
Oh yeah.
just like in the Batman to keep himself awake.
Yeah, Hypnosil is like a sleep
Hmm.
what do you call it? Repressant to keep you from
Repressant.
falling asleep. Just like this is supposed to keep the radium away somehow
Mhm.
for some reason.
So, he comes up. Yeah, so he comes up with Volatel, or he figures out Volatel works, but it wears off after 24 hours. And to top it off, it's expensive. So he makes a radiation suit and he commits robberies at hospitals and drugstores so that he can either find or make more Volatel. Batman and Robin get wind of these drugstore robberies. They find the suited up Professor Ross one night robbing a hospital. They fight him for a bit, and at one point, Ross takes off his glove and he shoots a radium ray at Batman and Robin as they're like making their way up like a pipe. Ross gets away and he kills a guard with his exposed hand in the process. Batman picks up Ross's glove and he takes it to his lab. He gets fingerprints from the interior of the glove. Meanwhile, convinced he's safe, Ross goes out to meet his girlfriend Mary. But it turns out he was wrong. She dies. Ross laments that he killed her when her maid walks in. Meanwhile, Gordon provides the results of the fingerprints to Batman, which identifies Professor Ross because it turns out all government workers / civil servants they get fingerprinted. So just then, Gordon gets a call from Mary's maid saying that Ross killed her. They go to Mary's home and she explains what happened. They go to Ross's lab and they learn about Ross's experiments and the deadly results. They put out a manhunt on Ross that lasts for days, but he's nowhere to be found. They plant a story in the paper that the police have given up their search and left Ross's house and hide behind the curtains. Ross shows back up on cue. At this point, the radium is getting to Ross's brain and it's a lot stronger. He literally walks through the door. Like it melts as he like walks through it.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I should have put that in my panel. I think I screwed up and didn't. So he puts on his protective suit and he finds a book with his last batch of Volatel hidden inside. Batman and Robin jump out. Ross shoots out radiation beams from his hands to try to kill Batman and Robin. But thankfully, they are safe as they had sprayed their bodies with a rubberoid compound that repels the radiation.
Yep.
Ross shoots down a chandelier which pins Batman down. They chase Ross to the shipyard and fight him. The fight winds up on top of a crane. Ross gets onto a platform and he knocks he gets onto a platform and Batman knocks him down off of the platform into the murky water below. Ross sinks down, presumably dead, but Bruce isn't quite sure. The end.
The end. What an end it is.
What are your thoughts on this one?
I like it a lot.
Mhm.
I know he's not going to be a recurring character, but I wish he was.
Yeah.
Because he's got a lot of potential. He reminds me a lot of Blight from Batman Beyond.
You know what? Right before you mentioned it, like I thought of Blight. I hadn't like reading this. I just didn't put two and two together. Like,
Yeah.
how could I not have? So
Well, there's another Batman villain too that they've had in older comics, and not older than this, obviously, but like the 80s.
yeah,
I can't remember what his name is, but he also is an inspiration for Blight. His body is just like a green glowing outline with like a skeleton inside, so he looks more like Blight too. And he has the same kind of thing where like when he touches things, they melt, right? Like he just can't live because he can't do anything without melting or killing or destroying.
kind of like the Midas touch.
Basically, I almost put that in my thoughts too. It is kind of like the Midas touch. You know, like you got what you wanted, but it's not exactly what you wished for, right?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like Ross is a tragic character because he was doing a noble thing.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to conquer the world or do like a lot of the other mad scientists on here where they like come up with something that could change the world and they just use it to try to rob banks.
Right. They just want to like blackmail people or use it as a way as like leverage to get something else.
Yeah, like
Yeah. He genuinely wanted to like find a way to prolong life.
yeah,
Or bring
so
people back from the dead.
he wasn't malicious in this, and the radiation did go to his brain and make him like literally mad.
Oh, I love that scene. I picked
Yeah.
that same scene too for
Mhm.
my panels. How could you not?
Yeah. Um, did you think about? Did this remind you of any movies?
Yeah, it reminded me of Reanimator.
Yeah, yeah, that's what
Because the
it.
whole idea of like injecting dead animals with like
Mhm.
a glowing reagent.
Yeah,
Hello.
yeah, we got to rewatch that. I haven't seen that since back at your old apartment
There's
forever ago.
3 of them now, so maybe 4. They were gonna make 5. I think they canceled the 5th one.
Yeah, I heard that one of them was gonna be like he was in the White House.
Yeah, and he brings
Yeah.
the president back.
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
House of Reanimator.
Yeah.
That got canceled.
It's a
I wish
shame.
it hadn't, but
Yeah, because Jeffrey Combs is so good.
he's really good.
Um,
He, by the way,
Mhm.
played the original Doctor Strange in the Marvel movie Doctor Strange.
that was Jeffrey Combs.
But they changed the title of it to like
Yeah.
Doctor Mordred
Mhm.
and released it through Full Moon Pictures. But it's
Yeah.
totally Doctor Strange.
yeah, that's I know that's getting a re-release on either Blu-ray or 4K.
It's
like,
so bad,
like
but it's
soon.
so enjoyably bad.
I gotta watch it.
Definitely watch
that
it.
sounds good. And you know what I was thinking? Because Reanimator is it's a take on Frankenstein, right?
Yeah.
What was Ross's girlfriend's name?
Wait, what was it?
Mary.
Of course, it was Mary.
Yeah.
I was gonna say they even name dropped Frankenstein in the last panel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of Frankenstein parallels in
Yeah.
here.
That's funny.
And then it also got me thinking. So this is kind of like a shift. This is kind of like a transitional period. Not only for Batman, but for just kind of like pop culture and the world in general.
Right.
Because just a few years ago, we had Batman fighting literal monsters,
Yep.
and like in movies and pop culture, like
Monsters were popular.
monsters were popular. Yeah, you had the
Yeah.
Universal monsters. It was their heyday. But we're on we're in the precipice of the
Atomic
atomic age.
Yep.
So this is our first, like, within Batman, like our first radiation atomic villain.
Right. This is where you start to get into movies like The Fly or
Mhm.
like Sleep. Crap. What's it called? Yeah, I can't think of the name of it.
I mean, there's
a whole slew of movies with Bela Lugosi where he's like killing people and injecting people with stuff to try to bring people back from the dead. But
Yeah, I mean, there's also just like a whole subgenre of like 50s B movies where
the corpse vanishes. That's
yeah,
another one right
and
there.
like giant like ants and just
Oh,
regular
Venom.
animals.
I literally watched that movie last night. I love that movie.
crazy.
I love that movie so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like this is kind of like the dawning of it. I mean, within comics, we'll get
We'll get even
X-Men
farther down that rabbit hole soon.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see a shift. Not so much I don't think it's very much pronounced in Batman, since it's not really a sci-fi.
They do take
Book.
it there sometimes though.
It won't be afraid to go there, but I mean that's definitely going to be more in within DC Superman's War.
Oh yeah. There's
Big
one
time.
more thought I had, and
Mm.
then I want to talk about a specific part of the book that I didn't choose the panel because the panel's not particularly well done, but that part of the book I like a lot. So I was gonna say this is the first time we ever see Bruce Wayne using forensics to solve a crime.
Yeah.
And
I
they did
put
a
panel
really
like that in
good
that.
job of doing that too.
Yeah.
Like showing him like break it down exactly how he gets the fingerprints off the glove and
Mhm.
like what he like. It's like a how-to guide on how to do that stuff.
Yeah, I need to look
It's really
into.
well done.
I was going to look in to see if the that actually works. If they can get like, I mean,
You probably
get the
could.
fingerprints. I'm sure it's
Yeah.
based on a real thing, but like, I know it depends on what the glove was made out of, because cloth doesn't really hold fingerprints.
No, it honestly like because it's like radiation proof.
Yeah,
I think they described it earlier in the book, and they said that it was made from like a lead and rubberoid compound.
I can see maybe if it's rubber and lead,
Yeah,
maybe just because like it's mushy.
right.
And you got the radiation, which is also kind of going to burn things. So I can see this capturing a fingerprint.
Yeah, I'll give it a pass.
Yeah, that'll give a pass.
The other thing I was gonna say is, man, I love the scene. It's just like a stupid thing, but I love the scene when he walks into the house where his girlfriend is,
Mhm.
and then he's like holding her, and then she dies, and he's like, "I killed her," and then her maid comes in, and she's
Yeah.
like, "You killed her!" Like, because he literally just announced it to
Just-
the world.
Yeah, just the worst luck.
Yeah, right. It's very comedic.
Yeah, and she happened to have the commissioner of the city, the police, on speed dial, and he
Yep.
knew her. Like,
Yeah,
what
right.
are the odds?
Yeah.
As Batman is there to be like, oh, we're looking for this guy.
I noticed another thing too, by the way. This in like one of the previous issues from the last episode, both of them involve Batman and Robin hiding behind a curtain or something in someone's house, waiting for them to reveal the secret hiding place of an object that they want.
That's true. Yeah. Though I don't know if they knew about the volatile. Oh yeah, you know what they
No,
did
they
because
did.
because that was the whole
Yeah.
thing they were investigating. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Who was stealing all the stuff from drugstores? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's do these panels.
Let's get the panels. I put this one here mostly just because like outside the splash panel, this was the only like good like close up of his suit.
It's a pretty cool suit.
It's a cool suit. Like it looks very like alien and robotic.
Yeah, it looks like a 50s B movie robot, but
Yeah.
then the suit itself obviously looks like there's a guy wearing it.
Yeah.
But
Like
the mask has that look.
yeah, it's got like I feel like a very alien. Like actually, have you seen the original? Not from the the reboot, but like the Cybermen from like the black and white days of Doctor Who.
Yes.
They are freaky as hell.
I was gonna say it also looks like Robot Men from Mars. If you've ever seen that.
I don't know
Sorry,
if I've
Rocket Men from
Rocket Man
Mars. My bad.
I probably have. Probably one of those things that's just bled into pop culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a cool suit.
I like it a lot. It's pretty cool. Oh yeah, you did put one in there. I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
I mean, just because like yeah, it's specifically actually is Bruce Wayne doing the forensic work with Dick. But
Well, I like how he uses it as like a teaching moment too. He's not just doing it and describing it. He's showing Dick how to do this stuff.
yeah, and then just like how artistic it was with the silhouette.
Oh yeah, like how he's all his features are blacked out.
Yeah, like I don't think there's a specific thematic reason for it. But it does look cool. It does look cool.
I think it's because it's trying to put the focus on Dick and the fact
Yeah.
that he's learning, but the way that he's holding his arm behind his neck, he's kind of like, I don't know about this.
Yeah,
You know, as Bruce is like describing everything in great detail.
it definitely feels a little bit like Sherlock and Watson, explaining how he came up with
Definitely.
doing some weird thing to figure out forensics.
We both picked this next panel, but
Yeah.
let me do my next panel first because
Okay,
there's a parallel between these panels right here.
all right.
So the panel that we both picked is 5 panels. It's like a central panel surrounded by 4 that tells the story.
Yeah,
And then the panel that I picked comes before it. It's the panel where he decides to take the poison to kill himself so he can prove to the world that his serum actually works,
Mhm.
right? But then when you look at the panel of 5, in the middle, he's making the exact same pose. The only difference is that he's not holding the poison bottle. And now he's like, I'm losing my mind. I'm going mad. Like,
yeah.
it's just cool because it's the same pose. And he's like, I'm going to do this. And he's like, oh no, I messed up.
He's also I just thinking of it now. He's taking a huge gamble killing himself
Yeah.
because like all he knows is that this worked on dogs.
Yeah. What if his lab assistant secretly thought he was an asshole
Yeah,
and was like, thank God he's dead and didn't want to bring him back?
yeah. I mean, and I think maybe like in a different story, he probably would have like done this if they wanted to go more on the Frankenstein route. They would have got a corpse after
Yeah,
trying it on dogs.
For sure. He would have like found it. He would have killed his assistant and brought his assistant back. Or something instead.
Yeah, that would have also been
Yeah.
if he.
But they also like turn his skin green too. Did you notice that?
Well,
Obviously, it's the radium, but that's just another parallel to the Frankenstein monster having green skin.
Yeah, well, I think the first when they do the X-rays, it turns his skin green, right?
Right.
But like when he takes the volatile and he's like back to normal, it like reverts it.
Mm-hmm.
But like as it like loses its effect and becomes less effective, and the radium is taken over. Like I think he's just gonna be permanently green.
Yeah, it's cool. I was just saying
Yeah.
it's another interesting parallel to Frankenstein.
Have you heard of colloidal silver?
Yep.
Yeah. So like there are people who like think it like cures all diseases and stuff. So
Oh yeah. I
they
know.
take it and it like permanently dyes their skin blue.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Sorry, that just
No, you're good.
Fart.
I want to talk about this 5-part panel.
Yeah,
or,
yeah,
do,
do it.
or do you want to talk about
no,
it?
please, by all means.
It's really cool. So it's basically just showing his descent into madness,
Mhm.
which is a very Lovecraftian thing. But it also like if you read the original Frankenstein novel, madness is like a recurring theme in there too, which is why Lovecraft borrows a lot of influence from that book. But I just love how you show this sequence of him being like, I need more volatile, and then it cuts to him like looking at himself in the mirror, and his hair is falling out, and he's saying that it's beginning to wreak havoc on his body as he's like staring at his reflection.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary. And then it cuts to him saying that like, I want to murder. Wait, what's the matter with me? Like it is literally driving him to murder. And then he's saying that it's eating into his body and his brain, and he's going mad.
I love that.
I'm crazy. I'm cursed. It's the radium.
Also, to parallel this with Batman, because mostly the first pose there, the Golden Age Batman, origin
Oh,
page.
holding up the test tube.
He's
in the
holding
air?
up the test tube.
Definitely.
And,
Yeah.
it's Bruce Wayne. He's improving his body and his mind to become Batman, right? So it's like the 180 of
It
what this
is.
guy is.
Oh,
This guy
man.
is like, he's losing his mind and his body.
Right. He's like, I need more of this drug to live. Oh, I'm losing my mind. My hair's falling out. I'm dying and I'm going insane.
Yeah. Just the worst luck.
It's the opposite of Bruce Wayne.
Yep. So a dark mirror,
Yeah.
as a lot of Bruce's the Batman's villains are.
This next panel I picked because it reminds me of something very specific that I can't pinpoint. Probably a lot of black and white movies that I've seen where it says like monster goes on a rampage, and then it like shows in the background superimposed this really huge newspaper, and then Dr. Radium, or whatever you want to call him, is like stomping around in the foreground like the Frankenstein monster, and his shadow is cast onto the giant newspaper.
I could see that. Seeing it like this, just like long, like and just the vertical panel alone, it actually kind of reminds me of that one X-Men panel. I mean, that one X-Men cover.
You're talking about the Days of the Future
The
Past.
Days of the Future Past one. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously they're nothing like, but it's just kind of
No,
like
I can see that a little
it's
bit.
got a sort of same composing, just one's tiny against the large thing where they're like bigger against like a bunch of small like newsprint.
I also
photos.
I had to do these too. I almost did this as a 3-part panel thing because this is so much like the original Golden Age first appearance Batman type stuff that it's not even funny. So it doesn't just end with him like trying to help Professor Radium. It ends with Professor Radium on a platform, Batman drop kicking him out of the sky and kicking him into a vat of who knows what.
Yeah, I had to like read this like page like 3 or 4 times just to be like, is this water or is this just like gunk?
And what did you come?
I put down, well, just because like they originally like they went to like a shipyard,
Yeah,
so I just put like water because like
I think it's probably water, but it's probably water full of like contaminants, like oil and just like refuse from the ships and stuff.
yeah, and
Because it's green. They're like coloring it as green, not blue.
I'm thinking it's either just like really dirty water or maybe what did they show the water before
No.
Radium fell? Ross fell?
No,
Because maybe
they did. It was still green.
Okay.
So that's what that's what led me to believe that it was like polluted water, something gross
Yeah.
that you wouldn't want to be in. But the fact that he like recently he's been trying to like save people, and now he just drop kicks this guy out of the sky, and he falls off into this vat of who knows what,
Yeah.
and then he just goes, he must have sunk like a log. I might as well go back to recover the Voltel and return it to the hospital. And it just does this close up on him. If this were an older story, he would have been like, thank God he's dead.
I know.
You know, like
Yeah, like death to Dr. Death. It's like a
Exactly.
180.
it's really cool. And I love that shot of Batman's face in close up. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, he's this is probably the first, but won't be the last time he drops some guy in some questionable liquid substance.
Yeah. It's always
and it'll come back to haunt him.
for sure. It's always easy to tell when Batman's in a good or bad mood in these older comics now because they flip flop his eyes. When they're upside down, they're like half circles and they're straight on the top and
Yep.
rounded on the bottom. He's mad. When they're rounded on the top and straight on the bottom, he's happy.
And oddly enough, like you can see the drastic like parallel between this one and our next issue because he's a lot happier in that one, despite fighting his arch nemesis.
Oh yeah.
So that wraps it up for Batman number 2. The story 2 in this one. Let's take a quick break and then we'll get into the next issue of Detective Comics. Be there. And we are back with Detective Comics 62.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. This is Detective Comics number 62, Batman versus the Joker, or at least that's what it says on the cover. Live, town, or sorry. I almost said live, laugh, love.
It looks like it should say live, laugh, love.
I will never say that in my life, although I just did. Delete it.
I can imagine
Delete it.
like Joker's house like having like a live, love, laugh thing, but like
Except they would say laugh, town, laugh.
or no, something like it'll have laugh,
It's like laugh, laugh, laugh.
but like somehow it'll be like laugh, 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 or like laugh, kill, something like that,
Laugh, kill, laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that. Anyways, Detective Comics number 62, Laugh, Town, Laugh. Art by Bob Kane, Jerry Robinson, and George Russo's. Story by Bill Finger. So,
Oh, and I forgot to put down, this is the April 1942 issue.
that is right. There's a lot of fun stuff going on this cover.
This is an issue about fun.
It's definitely a fun issue. It's a fun cover. The art is fun.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of panels that I would have picked in this issue. I had to kind of narrow it down, but I still picked way too many, if you ask me.
It's much lighter than the last story, for sure.
Right? It didn't go as light as I was thinking it would, though.
Yeah, like this. The beginning is like kind of dark, like just
Yeah.
Not-
it's got a lot of dark elements kind of
not.
sprinkled
Yeah, I
throughout,
mean, it's
but
not like the dark as in like, oh no, but like, you know,
Yeah.
it deals with a realistic thing.
Let me get into this cover a little bit because I'm like starting to talk about what I know about the story based on what I'm seeing on the cover here. So the cover is black, which is pretty cool, and then there's like a really two-dimensional cityscape in the background, and in the foreground you have Robin. We have Joker holding a slew of balloons above his head that all have his own face plastered on them, and then Robin firing a slingshot from the slightly behind him, popping one of those balloons, and then Batman charging at him from the foreground. So there's a lot going on. From what I know about the story, Robin would not want to be popping one of these balloons at all.
It's true.
But also another cool little detail is that the DC logo is encapsulated in a balloon that got away.
I like that.
Right? I didn't notice that at first. It took me a little.
And I like that the balloons are like over the word comics and Detective Comics.
Right. So you just see Detective and then like ICS because the rest are kind of blocking it.
It shows that they have confidence in the brand, that they can cover up like most of the title of the comic, and you still know what it is.
It's because it's Batman.
It's
and
Batman,
Robin
like,
and the Joker.
shows
If
how
it were-
popular Batman
if
is.
it were like Slam Bradley or something, they wouldn't be doing this. It's because they're like, yeah, it's Batman. It'll sell. Period.
Yeah.
He's on the cover. It'll sell.
Yep.
So, and then the splash page. This is such a cool splash page.
This
I
is
love it so
really
much.
cool.
It's probably my favorite one so far, honestly.
I like it. Okay, yeah, let me describe this one. So I keep seeing the book and it says Joe Miller. I keep thinking like Frank Miller.
Yeah.
So the Joker's like standing on a gigantic book, and it says Joe Miller joke book, and it's got Joker's face on it with like the like those drama comedy masks like coming on him.
But with his lips being all red, like Joker's.
Yeah.
I like that.
Joker is like on top of the book and he's kicking Robin, who's like coming at him. And then Batman, he's like on the other side, like trying to like kind of flying towards him. Like both Batman and Robin are like flying towards Joker. It's not exactly sure how, but
To me, it looks like they were both holding on to the cover,
Mhm.
and then Joker kicked Robin off, and he's about to fall, and Batman is about to fall because the book is opening. And
Yeah.
He's losing his balance. He's losing his grip.
and the background is like just a plain white, but scattered throughout the background are just the onomatopoeia, ha ha, ho ho, hee hee, just laughing sounds in like green, 2 shades of green, 2 shades of red / orange.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of Christmassy.
It definitely has that Christmas vibe.
Yeah. But it's like a more abstract cover, but it's cool. It's very interesting.
I like it a lot.
Let me try this out. Okay, so I'm gonna try out the dialogue thing here. Laugh and the world laughs with you. Such is the theme of America's masters of mirth who band together to tell the world's funniest joke, but forget to invite the king of all clowns, the Joker himself. Then does the dealer of drollery and doom in grim reprisal force entrance into this laugh parade to make a farce of the wordplay and of death. But like two jack-in-the-boxes, the Batman and Robin pop up to match wits with the Harlequin of hate in the supreme jest of all time in the story of Laugh Town Laugh.
All right.
That was really good.
Yeah, that was.
I keep thinking it every time I see it, and I never bring it up. It was like Joker's nickname's Harlequin of hate,
I love it.
but they can't, like, as soon as they introduce Harley Quinn, like they can't use that
No.
nickname anymore.
Yeah, but that's like way down.
Oh
the
yeah, that'll
line.
be like
the
decades.
90s.
We got time, but
But I love the Harlequin of Hate,
it's a good nickname.
and I love the Grim Jester. Those are my two favorites.
Mm-hmm.
The Clown Prince of Crime is pretty great too. Can't go wrong there.
Yeah, I think that's the one like that just kind of like sticks.
it sounds the best. It sounds the most creative. But I love the Grim Jester for some reason. That's my favorite.
Mm-hmm. So let's get into synopsis.
All right. I apologize if my voice goes out.
It's fine. It's fine.
My throat's a little dry.
If you need to take a break, just let me know.
All right. Famous comedian Happy Hansen lies in a bed dying. He expresses his concern to his lawyer over his will. then cracks one last joke as he breathes his final breath. His bed nurse asks the lawyer why Happy was so concerned with his will. The lawyer says that there has never been such an odd will before. It's fancy and too odd for comfort. I don't know why that took me too long to read.
I think it was probably like an autocorrect there.
The next morning, Hanson's lawyer has gathered 5 of the best comedians in the nation for the reading of the will. It turns out that Happy Hansen left behind a sizable amount of money, but instead of just giving it away, he left each comedian with a specific clue. If all the clues are united, they give the location of a secret cache of money, as far as we know. Once the money is found, only one man may inherit it all, but it will be decided by a joke competition. The man who tells the funniest joke at the end of the month will win all of the clues. The comedians are shocked and start to chatter amongst themselves. Meanwhile, across town, the Joker is sitting in his prison cell playing solitaire. He uses a sharp instrument to scrape parts of the playing cards off and shoves them into a loosened bed leg to form a homemade explosive device. He then shoves a bunch of junk into the door lock and fastens the device to the back of the cell door. When the guard comes to take the Joker out of his cell for his haircut, he finds that his key won't work, and he comes back with an acetylene torch to cut through the lock.
I love how quick, like, he's like, well, time to get the old acetylene torch.
Cut it open.
Yeah.
Yeah. After a few minutes of using the torch, the flames make its way through the metal and reach the homemade explosive device. The door explodes and Joker runs free once again. Such a cool way to escape, too.
I loved it.
And the fact that he uses playing cards,
Mm-hmm.
it's very jokery. Across town, Bruce and Dick are walking the streets and see the bat symbol projected onto the sky. They hurry home and change into the guises of Batman and Robin. As they speed back into the city, they switch on the police band just in time to hear a call from them to head to the home of Freddie Banter. As soon as Batman gets there, he is greeted by Gordon, who informs him that there has been a murder and that it was committed by the Joker.
Who would have guessed?
Right? Batman steps into the room and sees poor Freddie hanging from the ceiling, his neck broken, and around it is wrapped a pair of suspenders. Gordon then hands Batman and Robin a joke book and opens it to a specific page where Joker has crossed out the answer to a crappy joke and written his own crappy answer that details Freddie Banter's death. There's a Joker card paperclipped to the page. On the back of the card is a note to our detectives saying that Joker has joined the game. He intends to be the best comedian of all, to murder each of the others and steal their clues. Our heroes are disgusted. Gordon asks Batman and Robin to take on the case and bring the Joker to justice. The very next day, another comedian, Ted Allenby, is found dead, run over by his own car. Next to his dead body is a joke book. Inside the book is another Joker card with another bad joke crossed out, and given a new, more cryptic answer by the Grim Jester himself. Now the 2 comedians have come up dead, the other 3 are panicked and worried for their lives. They all go to the police station together to ask for protection. Gordon promises each of them that a bodyguard will assure their protection and that Batman himself and Robin are hard at work on the case. That night, Batman's investigation leads him to the home of Denny Jackson. He is speaking with the butler when a phone call comes in. The butler informs the man on the phone that Mr. Jackson isn't home, but that he's instead at a music store buying a new violin. When he hangs up, he seems distraught. He makes a comment to Batman about how shivery and cold the voice on the other line was. Batman assumes that it was, in fact, the Joker. Across town, the Joker and his thugs break into the music shop and take Jackson hostage. He takes Jackson's clue and then sets up a dangerous trap utilizing a metronome and 2 vials of TNT on either side. Batman and Robin burst into the room and start throwing punches like usual. As Batman is toiling with the Joker, he notices the metronome trap and recognizes it for what it is. Both he and Robin go for the trap at the same time and manage to stop it without setting it off. Unfortunately, the Joker gets away with the clue while they are distracted. The dynamic duo go to visit Gordon at the police station headquarters. At the police station, the police headquarters, and discuss a new plan of action. They decide to watch guard over Buster Parks, while Gordon's men watch over Claude Tilley. That way they can run into the Joker before he's able to nab the last clue. The next day, at Tilley's house, a police guard watches over him. The 2 men talk about Joker with fearful tones. As they talk, a man on stilts walks down the street outside. He's holding a handful of balloons, and he releases a few of them into Tilly's house through the open window. The balloons, with Joker's face on them, slowly start to disperse a deadly gas from punctured corks in their necks. Laughing gas. After the two men, right? After the two men have succumbed to the gas, the man on stilts reaches inside slowly and grabs the clue off the dead comedian's chest. Of course, that man is the Joker. At the same time, across town, at the home of Buster Parks, two of Joker's goons break in and disperse laughing gas everywhere. One of the men makes a comment about plugging Batman, but the other tells him to grab Parks because they need to get him to the 34th Street Pier as soon as possible. Batman punches a window to release the gas and get some fresh air into his lungs. After he and Robin catch their breath, they head to the Batmobile and drive to the pier where they spy on Joker and his men from the shadows. The Caped Crusader sneaks around the back of the building and inflates some really impractical looking raft shoes that they then use to walk across the water and scale the side of the boat.
Out of all of the comedy things, dealing with comedians and
That's the most comedic thing.
that was the most comedic thing in this issue.
These inflatable shoes that they can just use and they can walk upright like it's no big deal. Yeah, I know. Once on board, Batman goes straight for the Joker and gets it in a few good punches before his goons come rushing to his rescue. Joker pushes Parks off to the side of the boat and Robin fishes him out. He's almost dead. Robin starts CPR on Parks, but then Joker appears out of nowhere and throws a heavy fishing net over Batman and proceeds to beat him down with a blackjack. Robin now must choose between continuing the life-saving measure on Parks or saving his best friend from the hands of the Joker. Batman chimes in and tells him to save Parks and forget about him. Shortly afterwards, he collapses unconscious, and Joker and his goons carry him off while Robin is left helplessly performing chest compressions on Parks. We cut to the lair of the Joker, who is now poring over his clues. He turns to Batman, who is tied up and just beginning to regain consciousness. He laughs and tells the Dark Knight that he has set up a little game for him. There are 2 doors in the room. One leads to certain death, and the other leads to life. Batman makes a rude remark about Joker, which then gives him pause. He debates removing Batman's mask and exposing him to the criminal underworld. He reaches towards the mask, but then stops just short and releases a terrifying laugh. He then says that taking off the mask is too simple, and he prefers the battle of wits. It breathes life into him, and he wants to see how Batman fares against his traps. Joker steps out of the room and tosses Batman a knife to cut himself free, then slams the door. Batman stands facing the 2 doors, contemplating which one to enter. As he thinks, the doors become illuminated, revealing that behind each of them lies something dangerous. Behind one is a tiger, and behind the other is some kind of contraption holding a slew of sharp knives. The Dark Knight detective reviews his options carefully, but then a deadly gas is released into the room, forcing him to act more quickly than he would like. He opens the door to the knives and steps in. As soon as he's inside, a machine launches all of the knife blades straight at the hero's chest. He braces for impact, but as soon as the blades hit his chest, they shatter into pieces. They were only made of candy, like the knives in movies. Once the gas has dissipated, he moves into the tiger's room and discovers it lying dead on the floor. Proof that the Joker had wanted him to go for the tiger all along. He had left a way for the gas to get into the room so that even if Batman had defeated the animal, he still would have died.
Very cruel.
I know. The dynamic duo reunited upstairs, and Batman gets a good look at all the clues. They head to the Batmobile and take off for the Hotel Grand. Joker is already at the hotel. He knocks out the man at the desk with his blackjack and then takes a package that was being held there for a Mr. Winner. Inside the package is a giant pearl necklace. At first he's overjoyed, but then upon discovering that the pearls are lusterless, he tosses them to the floor in disappointment. Right then, Batman and Robin burst into the room as well. Joker throws a book at Robin's head, and Batman tackles Joker over the desk and subdues him. The police arrive and take Joker away, and Batman reveals to him that the pearls were actually fine, that they only needed to be worn again for a short period of time to regain their luster. Joker threw away millions of dollars purely because he isn't as much of a jewel expert as he thought. The end.
Is it because I don't know crap about pearls? Is it because the oils on
Yeah, it's the oils
the
from
skin?
your skin. Yep.
Okay, that's what I figured it was.
Yep.
I wonder if
It's the opposite of most jewelry. Like you wear silver
Yeah.
or gold and it gets tarnished
Mhm.
from the oxygen and
Right.
the oils and you have to clean it. So,
I never knew that about pearls.
mm-hmm.
Interesting. I kind of feel like I was betrayed by the premise of this issue. Like I wanted that joke contest.
I know, right? What happened to the joke contest?
Yeah.
The contest was one-sided though.
Oh yeah, I mean as soon as Joker went in, but I think like that. I think that could be a whole issue like in itself. Like that's like a pretty good premise for a story.
It is for sure.
I know there's a similar one in Batman animated series where Joker he's rounding up the hosts of like a comedy game show.
Oh man, that sounds familiar, but I feel
It's like it's one of like the lesser Joker episodes, but it's like it's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Like he somehow like hypnotizes the hosts into like kind of embarrassing themselves before it, like because one of them like he makes him think he's like the Condiment King. So that's how they
Nice.
get Condiment King in Batman animated series.
Right.
But yeah, I kind of feel like they should do that. It also really, I don't know why it made me think of. Have you heard of a show called Documental?
No.
It's so good. It's on Amazon Prime. It's a Japanese kind of like reality game show. It's called
Okay.
Hitoshi Matsumoto's Documental. He's like a big like comedian in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And what the premise is, he picks like 10 comedians in Japan, and he makes them pay into a pot like 10,000 yen each.
Okay.
So like the pot's like 1,000,000 yen, right? And like it's like their own money. Like they can't like they have like a lot of them like get loans to do this.
Yeah.
And they have to spend like 6 hours in a house, like in a room, right? It's just like wired with cameras, so like you're seeing everything.
Yeah.
And they cannot laugh, but they have to make each other laugh.
Oh shit! I have seen this.
Yeah,
Where
it's
they're just like constantly trying to make each other laugh and break each other.
yes,
Oh, it's so good.
it's the funniest shit.
I forgot about that. I didn't actually. I don't think I knew what it's called, but I know
Oh, yeah.
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. They do like obviously it's a Japanese show, so like they're current there. Where like the episode they like put it around
Yeah.
close to like New Year's, the beginning of the year. So we're like a couple seasons behind, but
There was another show like that where it was called like Laugh No Laugh Punishment or something, or Laugh
they had
No
a
Punishment.
it's like a similar like because there was like they have like those punishment games where if you laugh
Yeah.
you get punished.
Yeah, yeah.
But this one like it almost hurts more because like
You just lose all your money.
they're like putting like actual money on, but like a lot of them are like good sports about it, and it just makes it like that much like crazier. So I don't know. I could definitely think. I was like thinking about Joker in that situation.
Yeah,
that-
he would kill it.
He would
Pun
literally
intended.
kill it. Sorry to get in. What are your thoughts on this one?
I didn't actually write any thoughts.
Mhm.
I figured I would just talk about my thoughts.
Yeah.
I really like this one a lot, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I like both of these issues quite a bit. With this one, I like the fact that they didn't nerf the Joker right away. I thought this was going to go straight up comedy, and,
I did
and he wasn't
too.
going to be killing people, but he was killing people. It's kind of like the bridge, I think, between him
Mhm.
being the jokester Joker and him being the murderer Joker,
Yeah.
because he's insulted that no one invited him to this like competition of jokes.
Yeah.
Right? So he thinks of himself as a Joker.
yeah.
Right? But he's still murdering these people to get his opportunity to prove his point.
Yeah. Before he was like he looked like a clown. He dressed like a clown, but he didn't so much act like a clown.
Yeah, now he's definitely acting like a clown.
Now he's acting like a clown. It's all about the comedy.
Mhm.
His first kill was like hanging a guy by his own suspenders. That's
Yeah.
darkly funny.
It is.
Like I was just looking at the silhouette and just like I was laughing. Like it shouldn't be funny, but it is.
I think the Grim Jester
Mhm.
moniker works perfectly for him in this issue, right? Because he's murdering people in a
Mhm.
darkly funny way, right?
Yeah.
So I think that works well. I wouldn't say Clown Prince of Crime yet because he's not like a criminal mastermind. He's still just a murderer, but he's starting to murder people in ways that are funny,
Mm-hmm.
not just ways that are murderous. And
Yeah. Before he would just like have these like he would announce, I'm gonna kill them and kill them in like creative ways,
dark. Right.
almost like Jigsaw.
Yeah, kind of.
But now he's just kind of like he's becoming more like the unpredictable force of nature.
Yeah.
Kind of like you see him, you're dead, kind of rather than like this meticulous planning.
Right. Unfortunately, I think by the time he hits that peak, he's just gonna devolve into like a really cheesy, watered down, jokey Joker. And then we'll see him come back when Neil Adams reinvents him in the 70s.
Yeah. I wonder if the comedians were all based on like real people at the time.
Probably. I was thinking that too.
The only one, I mean, who's like prevailed through time has been the one who's obviously based on Buster Keaton.
Yeah.
Which his name was even Buster, but like I looked at the guy and I'm like, is that Buster Keaton? And then I read the names.
I'm sure that they're all based on people. There's no way
Yeah.
they wouldn't be. Like all these Batman stories, including Batman himself and the Joker, are based on movies and other pop culture references.
Yeah.
So there's no way.
Bill Finger and Bob
Yeah.
Kane and Jay Robinson
They're just big nerds.
they're just like soaking up the pop culture back then.
Yeah. But yeah, the other thing you brought up that I didn't write is that this story does play up the differences between Batman and the Joker a lot more, you know, and like that Batman is just like dead set on finding him and getting to the bottom of all this, and the Joker is just like stringing him along for fun.
Yeah.
It feels more in line with what you would expect from a Batman Joker story.
Yeah, I mean, especially what clinches it is the moment where Joker has Batman dead to rights. He can easily unmask him, but he decides, no, wait, this is a lot more fun if I don't know who you are.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's like a definitive Batman moment right there.
yeah,
Like, I don't need to know who you are. I'm just gonna have fun torturing you.
like knowing who it would basically kill the fun. So,
Right.
they do that in The Dark Knight,
Mm-hmm.
where Joker he puts up a bounty to unmask Batman or kill him or whatever, and then partway through he basically cancels the bounty.
Mm-hmm.
Once he realizes, no, wait, I don't want to know.
Yeah, they did the opposite in the Harley Quinn TV show, where like he's hanging out with Scarecrow and they're torturing Batman, and then Scarecrow just pulls Batman's mask off, and Joker's like, "Why did you do that?" He's like all pissed off. You ruined everything.
I know in like the modern comics at this point, they're kind of like just know who each other are, and I know you read three Jokers not too long ago.
Oh
and it
yeah,
kinda
I like
reveals-
that one quite a bit actually.
Yeah, that one it reveals that at least within that version, they've known who each other are for a long time, and
Yeah.
like they kind of know each other, like know that the other one knows, but
It's like they
both of them kind of deny it.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're just they're trying to accept the fact that each other know, and then like dismiss it at the same time, so they
Yeah.
can keep playing this game back and forth.
yeah, they don't want to admit it to themselves, but
Right.
they know, and they know that the other one knows.
Mm-hmm.
That's confusing, but yeah.
And that one's a sequel to The Killing Joke, right? So that does reinforce the fact that like Batman knows his origin story, and his origin story is The Killing Joke. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, that one definitely clinched it. That because even within the Killing Joke, it's like maybe it is because he says I prefer my
Yeah, my origin story to be multiple choice.
yeah, but this one basically Jeff John because it's a lot of kind of one thing I don't like about a lot of modern writing is that like they take like the big stories that everybody knows and loves, they take the ambiguity away and just kind of like make it like
Yeah.
clear. So that's one thing I didn't like. Yeah, it did like basically show that no Joker. This whole story about being a former comedian and
Yeah.
being a failed one, and then having a family and like an actual son.
I can see what you're saying. But
Yeah,
not to get too off topic because we got into the panels.
Yeah.
But to me, it more says that like Three Jokers is in the same series as Killing Joke, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like all the Frank Miller Dark Knight stuff, that's
Yeah.
completely removed from continuity. Like it might have been super influential, and a lot of people took inspiration from Year One specifically in
Yeah.
Dark Knight Returns to make their own Batman stories and paid reference to it, but it exists outside of continuity. I think Killing Joke and Three Jokers, and isn't there another one that's in that same line, exists outside of continuity?
maybe Man Who Laughs,
Yeah, yeah.
something like that. Yeah,
There's a story in there that feels very much in line with
yeah. I mean,
Killing Joke.
in the end, you kind of have to make up your own continuity because these are characters
Right.
who've been around for almost a century, and you will go mad trying to make a straight line out of it all.
Yeah, there's really no point. Just embrace the version of the characters you like the most.
Exactly. So yeah,
Alright.
let's do the panels.
Panels.
So yeah, I chose this one just because it's like the art. I really like the art. It's where the comedian at the end, he's on his deathbed and he dies.
It's like one of the first panels in the issue.
Yeah, and it just it's done really well. Where it's just he's on his deathbed. We get this gigantic. Gotham has gigantic windows. I swear to God. But the light of the sun is shining through. And then he's just like saying his last words as he dies, and it's just very melodramatic because he's trying to kind of make him laugh as he dies. He's true to his life.
They do that old school Hollywood movie thing where he's like, talking and then goes, "Ugh,"
Yeah.
and then like dies as he's talking.
It's a melodramatic thing,
Yeah.
but I don't think he would have realized that his like will would have caused the deaths of people he liked too. I think he would have probably
Probably
been
not.
pretty mad at that. Next one I chose is one of the Batmobile just driving through Gotham.
I almost picked this one too, but
It's just a
maybe
really good shot.
I wasn't gonna pick it because of the composition. I was gonna pick it because this is the only time they've ever said that like they have their own access to the police band,
Mm.
and it's not like in the comics where you expect them to show up to the bat symbol and
Yeah.
like meet Gordon on the roof, and then he tells them everything. They shine the bat symbol, and then they get in the car and turn on the police radio band, and then Gordon's telling them where to go
Mhm.
on the police band.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different than I would have expected. It's really cool though.
I mostly chose it for the art because it's a nice Dutch angle with silhouettes.
Yeah, it is really damn cool. I like
It is a
I like
cool one.
that too.
Yeah.
And the coloring that they use too.
And so after that, I chose the one where Joker's first victim in this story is hung by his suspenders.
I picked this one too.
Yeah.
I didn't obviously put it in here because you already had it in here, but
It's
the dramatic
it's-
shadows.
Yeah, like it's dark and it's disturbing, but the fact that he's hung by his own suspenders makes it kind of funny.
I also like everything that's going on in this panel. Like,
Yeah.
not only do you have like the guy hanging from his suspenders in the foreground, all in silhouette,
Mhm.
which is pretty disturbing. It reminds me of that Wizard of Oz, like the Munchkin hanging himself type thing.
Yeah, which is not true.
No, I know, but
Okay.
but that's the vibe it gives me.
Yeah, yeah.
And then in the background, you have Batman, Commissioner Gordon, and like another random police officer.
Mhm.
And Batman is like shocked. He's just like hanged with a pair of suspenders. Like you can see it on his face.
Yeah.
But then you have like that big like like dark bat shadow in the background behind him.
Mhm.
And then Gordon's just like, yes, and now read this book.
Yeah, Gordon's like, yeah, same shit we've seen all the time. It's
Yeah, he's
Joker.
dead. Now read this book.
You can't act surprised every time the Joker kills somebody.
Right? It's no longer surprising.
Yeah. And then after that, I chose mostly just because like we went over it earlier, the very silly sequence of Batman inflating his like big inflatable shoes and walking on water. Batman and Robin.
Yep.
You know what these things remind me of?
What?
Moon shoes. Do you remember those?
Oh, they're totally moon shoes.
Yeah, yeah. If you were a '90s kid, all the time back in the '90s and probably the early 2000s, they would advertise moon shoes, which were these kind of. I never used them. I don't think I used them, but like
You
kind
like
of like
step in them, and then but you're like floating in them.
yeah,
So your
like
feet they don't actually hit the
giant
ground.
circular shoes that you could like bounce on. It was almost like
Yeah.
having a trampolines for shoes.
Right?
Well, far more safer, probably.
You know what I like about this sequence of panels you picked here?
Mm.
The ridiculousness of it all.
Yeah,
They take it really seriously. Like
Mhm.
they treat it so seriously. They even have Robin be like, "It looks sort of crazy, but what do I care as long as it works?"
Yeah.
Because they know that they look ridiculous.
well, I think that's what that makes camp work.
Right.
Is when they do it with a straight face. It's a silly thing, but to them, it's not silly. It's deadly serious.
Well, that's why the Adam West show did so well. 'Cause
Exactly.
this is like the epitome of that right there.
yeah. There's no winking to the camera.
No, but if I were like making a cartoon like the Harley Quinn show or like
Mhm.
the Adam West show, I would totally cut to like a moment of Batman just like
Yeah, yeah,
just trying to like blow up these like 4 raft shoes and just getting winded.
yeah. Him blowing up the shoes, like that's a thing you don't show on camera because it's just like
It would be hilarious.
well. I mean, no, I mean like it's a thing you like people normally wouldn't show on camera just because it's
Right.
like it's just like a one of those like silly things, but like you do show it because it's
Yeah.
silly.
Like you've seen Freakazoid, right?
Oh yeah,
You know the
of
first
course.
episode of Freakazoid where you hear like the wind blowing and then it like cuts to like some guy on the street going, "Ooh,"
Yeah.
like he's doing the. I
Yeah.
can imagine like you show like a shot of like the bay and like the night and the moon and the wind blowing, and you
Mhm.
hear like the of the wind, and then you
Yeah.
pan over and it's just Batman blowing up these shoes.
Yeah, like later on, I'm sure like he'd have like some kind of self-inflating thing, but like
Right.
at this point, he's like, nope, gotta inflate it myself.
Yep.
It's so funny. So after that, I chose the panel mostly just because I like the panels of Batman taking the what appears to be a plate or a bowl full of knives straight to his chest.
It says 1,000 blades knife. 1,000 blades. There's no way that's 1,000.
It's kind of like almost looks like a giant pie tin.
Yeah, covered in 1,000 blades apparently.
Yeah, and like he only realized it's like the correct choice, like that it must be made out of sugar, just because he saw like flies like hovering around it.
I almost picked these panels too, but I would have picked the next one that you're about to describe and the
Mhm.
one below it, and I was gonna make a 2-parter out
Oh,
of
yeah.
those two because
Well,
it's hilarious.
So the next one I chose is actually the next panel after, just mostly because like I know I said like not winking to the camera, but I do like that Batman's like directly talking to the audience because like Robin isn't there, so he's like, well, if Robin's not here. Let me talk directly to the children reading this comic.
I love how bipolar these two panels are side by side though, because the first panel, he's like staring at this piece of like fake glass and he's all dark and scary looking. And look, notice his eyeballs are flat on top and round on the bottom.
Yep.
And he's like brooding and he's like, just as I suspected, the blades were made of candy.
Mhm.
Just like the knives villains use in the movies. And then it just does like an extreme close up, and all of a sudden his eyes are rounded on top and flat on the bottom, and he's fucking grinning.
Yeah.
And he's like, I was suspicious when I saw those flies buzzing around the blades. Flies are attracted to sweets, kids.
I love
Like,
it.
come on.
Yeah.
It's just such a 180, but I love it too.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get into mine here. Mine are the ones I put on here are very different from the ones you picked. So I picked the one of Joker sitting in his cell playing solitaire. Because I just like the way he's described a lot. They don't really describe him like this in modern comics, but they say that in a certain jail miles away sits a man, his face a death white mask, his eyes burning, hate filled, for this man is the Joker. Like, I love the whole death white mask thing. They bring that up in a lot of other issues when he's in there, and that he has hate filled eyes.
Yeah.
Like, I can just imagine how he looks based off of this. Like, I can see it sort of in like the way they're trying to draw him, but I feel like that description of him with these hate-filled eyes and this death grimace, like, I've never seen him portrayed in a movie or a show in that way, or at least not, like in a way that reflects the way I see him when I read that.
Yeah.
He sounds terrifying.
Like it reminds me mostly of the thinking back to his like very first appearance where he's sitting at the desk with his like fingers like
Yeah.
his hands, and like he's
Right.
not smiling, but like it's so like the focus is on his like eyes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really like that dark, menacing Joker who doesn't really crack jokes, or, he likes to act like he's this jokester, but he's actually just a murderer. And then I also got this, I love this one of him just like elbowing this cop as he's like breaking out of prison. And he's like, just a harmless man's playing cards, huh? Like, because he heard everything they were saying while he was in his cell, and he was just waiting for that minute to like bust out and like elbow the guy in the face.
Yeah, he's been wanting to like give this punchline for a long time.
Right. And he steals his gun at the same time.
Yep.
Which is great. And then obviously, like, I picked this one, you picked this one too. It's the guy hanging from suspenders. And then I had to pick up one of the close-ups of the books because he leaves these joke books behind, these Joe Miller joke books. And he crosses out the answers to the jokes and puts in like a really shitty answer that's not actually like a joke, but just like him trying to like express something,
Yeah, I really liked it because like it's very spiteful.
Yeah.
Like his punchlines aren't even really creative.
They're not really punchlines. They're just like him crossing out a punchline and then writing some sentence in there to piss people off.
It's just very like fuck you.
Pretty much, yeah.
And like he even puts in like the Joker card in there. It's just like with a paperclip. It's almost crude by his standards.
It is crude. I was thinking that too. Like, why would he even what's the point of the paperclip?
Yeah, I think a lot of times maybe because he plans his breakouts in advance when he wants to do something. He's like, yeah, I got this big goal in mind. But this, he's like, I got to do this now. I got to get out of here. And he's like, okay, I got a bunch of joke books. Let's do this.
I wish that when he crossed out their answers and put his answers, that they really were jokes and that they were really good.
Yeah.
Because then it would make this next panel even better.
Yeah, this one's hasty Joker.
Yeah. This is a very hasty murder spree for him. But I just like that, like, Commissioner Gordon is like, do you see the irony in it? He's killing people according to the jokes that he's written. But they're not really jokes, And then Batman's like, it's an example of the Joker's perverted sense of humor, a deadly humor that I'm afraid I don't appreciate.
Yeah.
So, which is cool. I really like that moment between them, that it shows Batman has like a deeper understanding of the Joker than Commissioner Gordon does. But the jokes suck. They're not really jokes.
Yeah, by Joker standards, they're bad.
Yeah. This next one's great because it's just the balloons floating around in the room after he walks by on stilts and lets the balloons into the room. But they all have his face on them, which I thought was great. And they're just like squirting this like gas into the air. But I also like the idea of using a cork with a hole in it to plug up the balloon. And then he has that weird little like inflatable raft thing around his stomach that is full of the toxic gas. And then he basically just takes the cork and puts it over the end of the life raft and squeezes it to force all the poison gas into it. It's very creative, but it took a lot of thought to do that because I've never seen that in a movie or a show or anything before, or read it in a book.
Yeah, the closest I can think of is with Joker and balloons would be the 89 movie.
Right?
Like they had good effect with that, but they weren't just like these balloons with his face on it. They were just kind of like
Yeah, I mean, one of them was like a giant clown with white skin and green hair.
Yeah,
and
I mean
white
those were
lips.
more like Tim Burton balloons than Joker balloons, but
But one thing Tim Burton does do in that movie is he does have Joker and his thugs wearing things with the Joker's face on them,
yeah.
right? And it's like that cool Neil Adams Joker head.
Mm-hmm.
But I love this panel. Like the cop and the guy are just like dying laughing. This isn't the first time that he's used gas that makes people smile, but it's the first time I think they've called it laughing gas instead of just like choking gas or something, right?
Probably.
And then I don't know why. I just like when Batman punches or breaks through windows and doors.
Yeah.
So of course I had to pick the one where he's punching through the window to try to get fresh air. And I just love that he's like punching through the window and then he's like, fresh air to clear my head.
Yep. Yeah, they're definitely like an Adam West line.
Oh yeah. The next panel I picked is just a moody panel. It's when they get to the docks to spy on the Joker on the boat, and they're hiding behind this wall. And they do this all the time in these comics, where they're hiding behind like a half wall and they're like looking at what's going on. But the difference here is that it's really moody. It's dark. It's nighttime. There's shadows cast everywhere. The Joker's really far in the background. Like the coloring that's used, it's like that subdued, like muddy green, like purples. Like it has like this really sinister feel to it.
Yeah, I like that the moon is kind of like it. You know, it doesn't have an outline. It's almost like made out of like the negative space by like the horizontal like
Yeah,
lines
they
going
do like
across.
horizontal hashes across the
Yeah.
sky. Yeah, it's really cool looking. I like it a lot. And then the water too has like other hashes going. Like I guess the ones in the sky are diagonal and the ones in the water are horizontal. But
Yeah.
either way, it's effective and I like it a lot.
I didn't even like. I didn't like. Now that you put this next one in here, I like it a lot.
I like it a lot too, but it doesn't make any sense at all to me.
It doesn't, but
'Cause
it's cool.
It's a joke book. It's the joke book he left behind, but the picture in the joke book is the Joker like dumping like the guy into the water. What honestly it looked like to me was that like he's throwing fish into the water
Yeah,
and that the guy is already in there and his corpse is like floating in the water.
it's kind of confusing, but
it's
like
really confusing.
in a funny way. I don't know. Just like I like the idea of the Joker having a joke book of him murdering somebody on the cover.
Oh yeah.
That's funny. Like it wouldn't make sense in the story, but like it's a good
Yeah,
idea.
It really doesn't make any sense, but I like it a lot. And then I obviously had to pick a couple of these panels from the end of the book, so I picked the one that's like a sequence where Joker's like staring at Batman tied to a chair, and then he's like telling Batman that like, you know, whatever he chooses, whatever choice he makes is going to lead to his doom. And then Batman's like basically talking shit. He's like, "Thanks for the advice.
Mhm.
You're so kind. I bet you give ice away in the wintertime." And then the Joker just like stops for a moment and is like, "You know what? I should just take off your mask and reveal your identity to the entire world." And then he like reaches for his mask and there's like shaky lines coming from Batman and the Joker. So Batman's like, "Don't take it off, please." And you can tell the Joker's like, "I don't really want to take it off." And then he like pulls back and then has this little line about how he shouldn't do that.
Looking at it now, it almost seems like Joker had this like a small moment of clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Just like he's not smiling, but he's not like he looks kind of angry, but not like menacing. He almost looks like he's contemplating something he hadn't before, and he's just like realizing, wait, and
No,
then he's gonna do it, and then like the craziness comes back. He's like, what the fuck am I doing? No.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because
Yeah.
if you look at the panels, the first panel where he's telling Batman he's going to die,
Yeah.
and Batman cracks a joke, the background is orange. Then it cuts to a panel, the close up of the Joker, where he has this realization that he could just take his mask off and end everything. Then the background's black. So you're focusing in on his facial expression and what he's saying.
Yeah.
Then it goes back to orange, and he's reaching for his mask to try to remove it. So they clearly want you to like realize that Joker has had a realization and that he's never thought of this before
Yeah.
until this very moment.
It was like a blip in his like craziness.
Yep.
Yeah, like he could have just ended it all right there and got away with it and been, well, I don't know if he would have been happy, but
Maybe
that would
not.
have been the end of the Joker.
I had to pick this panel just because I like panels with Batman and Joker together, and it's just Batman like tackling the Joker from behind at the knees.
Mm-hmm.
But his hat's coming off, but he wasn't even wearing a hat in the previous panel, so I don't get it. Where did the hat come from?
I don't know. Maybe just they just clearly wanted something to make it look a little more dynamic. But yeah,
I know it's
Never-
a cool
didn't even
picture.
think about that.
It doesn't make any sense though. And then
has he been wearing a hat before?
he's worn it like once.
Okay.
But I love this shot of Batman punching the Joker in the face. And he's just like, "And that, Mr. Joker, is that?" And he decks him. I would imagine he jokes him right when he says, "Is that?" You know?
Mm-hmm.
But I really love the way Batman's head is drawn in this image. Like, it looks really cool. Like, the way his ears are, and you can see all the fold lines on the ears. And even, like, the way his glove is drawn It feels really dynamic, and Joker looks like he's about to just like pass out and hit the ground. All the little shaky lines coming off his arms.
Yeah. Our Joker episodes run very long. I knew this would happen, but
It's hard not to.
it's great. You want to talk about the next episodes? The next episode?
Is it going to be the Halloween one?
I think we got like one more week before we do that.
All right, so the next episode is going to be Batman number 8, story number 3, the Superstition Murders, which I want, by the way, but
Go for it.
right.
I've had the last couple Batmans, so yeah, you do it.
Okay. And then Detective Comics number 63, A Gentleman in Gotham.
So that wraps it up for this week's episode of Become a Bat. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host, Tom.
And I'm Mike.
And we are out of here. Good night.
Later.